With the advent of the Necroquake, the Catalfrane curse has spread, reality itself has been splintered, and reflections of Shadespire have appeared throughout the mortal realms. Nagash's cruel affliction has not been diluted by its dispersion. If anything, the curse's effects seem to have become magnified in certain areas suffused with magic. In those arcane places where recent battles have left a handful of blood-stained survivors facing each other, a peculiar phenomenon takes hold. Deathly energies swirl around the combatants, and those that are slain return to life seconds later. Hungry for vengeance, they immediately rush to battle once more, and the cycle of killing continues. This phenomenon is known as the Arena Mortis. Although the arena's opening is brief, while it lasts, the battlefield becomes a nexus of death. The cursed aura of Shadespire is magnified and reflected, manifesting as amethyst beams of Shayajan energy. Where these pillars of dark light intersect, a node of magical power is created. Nagash had anticipated the side effect of the Catalfrane curse. He challenged his Mortarchs to find a way through which the concentrated energies of the Arena Mortis could be harnessed and trammeled. However, each of his servants' efforts resulted in failure, just as the great necromancer had anticipated. None could match his mastery over the arts of death. The artifacts the Mortarchs designed were unable to contain the titanic energies harnessed by the Catalfrane curse, and became trapped within the scattered reflections of the mirrored city. It all goes back to Shadespire. These Mortis lenses now appear seemingly at random wherever the Arena Mortis has taken hold. Warriors who see their reflections in these great mirrors are infused with strength or vitality, or protected from the lens's cruel effects on the wider arena. Those that take advantage of this power would do well not to tarry long once the battle is done, however. The mirrors claim the souls of those who stare just a moment too long, trapping them for eternity, or at least until Nagash comes to claim them. Warhammer Underworlds Beastgrave Arena Mortis is one of those rare expansions that's not just a Rivals deck and not just a warband. Beastgrave actually brings you a unique deck of cards, unique mechanics, and a couple of boards you can't get in any of the other releases to the Arena Battler.
And that's pretty much it. We could probably end the video here, but I wanted to unbox this, show you the boards, and show you the cards.
And then we'll look at the rulebook too, and I suppose the tokens. We have this nice blister pack that doesn't look anything like the lovely art-filled boxes that fit perfectly in a stack on our Warhammer Underworld shelves. It's fine, whatever. Warhammer Underworlds Arena Mortis is a fast-paced variant of Warhammer Underworlds designed for 3 to 6 players. Each player uses a single fighter chosen from any Warhammer Underworlds warband and engages in brutal combat to survive the lethal maelstrom of the arena while amassing the most glory points. This expansion includes new game boards and power cards to use in any game of Underworlds, the rules for playing Arena Mortis games, and 2 sets of unique Arena Mortis tokens. That's what it comes with. First I was like, I said that weird, and then I thought, oh, it's just because I didn't say the comma. So we actually have one of those nice little, I don't know what to call this. It's like the cigarette pack strip right here. They're almost always on the side. Pull. It ripped before it, okay, never mind. We open! They're power cards at the end of the day though. There's a lot of ploy cards, a lot of upgrade cards. You get these 6 unique cards. First place, second place, third, fourth, fifth, last place. Interesting. There are mechanics on these 2 cards. We also get an upgraded Warden card for the Sepulchral Warden. Why is that? What updated about this that made them need to print a new card? Strange. I could look it up and tell you, but I think I'll just leave that a secret. It's a secret from me, because I don't know. We have the manual on how to play Arena Mortis. This is going to assume that you already have and know how to play Warhammer Underworlds. This is going to be a mode of play for Warhammer Underworlds. It is an 8-page, counting all of the pages. And then we've got our, look at that, we've got, are those wound tokens? They point. Why did they point? I don't know, because it's not, my other tokens don't point. That's what they are though. They're 30 double-sided wound characteristic trackers. That is the most convoluted way to say that. Well, there you go. Double-sided wound. They have different numbers on each side, so they're multi-purpose. There are a lot of them. 1 activation token and 6 raise counters, and then 6 Mortis Lens tokens. Looks like they're going to take the place of the objective tokens, but we'll see. This also comes with another card, the Restless Dead Gambit card. The power cards are universal. There are 20 upgrade cards and 20 of what they call Gambit cards. I thought these were ploy cards in previous editions. The Mortis Lenses. Mortis. The Dark Lens Shard. The Blood Spectralis, the Shadow Prism, the Bone Iris, the Mirror of Future Glories, and the Wasting Nexus. These have their own mechanics. They're not just simple objective tokens. A Mortis lens is treated as being an objective token, but does not have a number associated with it. In addition, a Mortis lens cannot be flipped or removed from the battlefield. Finally, each Mortis lens has the following additional rules. We've got multiple warbands from the Beastgrave season duking it out on the cover of the Arena Mortis rulebook. And a clarification right on page 1 with some very lovely art here. Where a rule from Arena Mortis contradicts a rule from Warhammer Underworlds, the rule in Arena Mortis takes precedence. In games of Arena Mortis, each player has a 1-fighter warband and 2 decks of cards. This section of the rules explains how to pick your fighter and build your decks. Pick your fighter. Each player picks a single fighter from any warband they own. This fighter is considered to be the only model in a player's warband and has no other friendly fighters, either out of action or otherwise. In addition, other fighters cannot be added to a player's warband during the game. Here it is, the first of 2 Arena Mortis maps. It's 1 board, double-sided. Some fighters in Underworlds cannot be set up unless another fighter is on the battlefield. When picking a fighter, ignore any ability that prevents that fighter from being used if another fighter is not present. You can pick that fighter following the rules above. For example, you could pick Gobolok or the Blue Horror as your fighter. I am inferring that these are not models, fighters that go onto the board when you are setting up your warband by default. I'm inferring that they have to be summoned or brought into play somehow in a regular game of Underworlds. At least a regular game. What's considered regular from that particular season?
The Horrors. Players cannot pick the Brimstone Horrors to be their fighter in games of Arena Mortis. If a player picks the Blue Horror as their fighter, they must also pick the Brimstone Horrors. The Blue Horror uses the rules printed on its fighter card as normal.
I infer that will make perfect sense if I have any idea what they're talking about, but I don't, so it doesn't. But it's all Tzeentch related, and so that infers that someday I will know what they're talking about, because Tzeentch is my favorite Chaos God. Tzeentch's followers, other than the Lord of Change, are probably my least favorite Chaos followers, Chaos creatures, Chaos minions. That award is kind of a tie between Khorne and Nurgle, and this is if we're not counting the Great Horned Rat. If we count the Great Horned Rat, not only is that my favorite Chaos God, but its followers are my favorite followers. Tzeentch followers are weird. They're just little blobs of Play-Doh that run around screaming, or they are bird people that are very smart. I do love the Lord of Change, though.
Why not put my money where my mouth is and show off my beautiful, lovely Lord of Change statue?
So awesome. Need to homebrew some Lord of Change and Khorne Bloodthirster rules into Underworlds. Look, they'll fit on the Hex. Each player must construct 2 decks, a Gambit deck and an Upgrade deck. Objective decks are not used in games of Arena Mortis. When building your decks, you must follow these restrictions. The Upgrade deck must include at least 10 upgrade cards. It can include any number of additional upgrade cards. The Gambit deck must include at least 10 Gambit cards. It can include any number of additional Gambit cards, but cannot include fewer cards than are in your Upgrade deck. Neither deck can include more than 1 card with the same name. They must be unique cards. You can only include cards that have the same warband symbol as your fighter card or the universal symbol. More cards! In games of Arena Mortis, you can guarantee that your fighter will be given at least as many upgrades as there are rounds in the game, plus their starting upgrades. This means that if you take the minimum amount, you will often run out of upgrades. It's definitely worth adding more cards to your decks. 12 is a very suitable number for both, but as many as 14 or even 15 is equally viable in games with fewer players. That's why you're... Wait, no, I was thinking of something else. The Forsaken cards. You cannot include any of the following cards in your decks. Infinite Riches from Night Vault, Quick Thinker from Shadespire, or Time Trap from Shadespire. My goodness. Coming out of the gate with an expansion that's already broken and saying, well, just to unbreak it, just don't do this. So here's your how to play. You'll determine your game length, reveal your fighters, set up the initiative deck, determine the first player, place the Mortis Lens token, shuffle decks, draw cards, and place the fighters. Then it's round 1 action phase, end phase, and then a further 4 through 7 rounds based on the number of players, see below. The final round, action phase, end phase, and then victory. This is pretty close to a standard game. It's just now you're picking 1 fighter and you're building your decks. Kind of go around that 1 fighter. In games of Arena Mortis, a round is an action phase followed by an end phase. For the purposes of fighter cards, upgrade, and gambit cards, it is always considered to be the second round. So if you're going to play with 3 players, then 9 rounds. 4 players is 8 rounds, 5 players is 7. It makes sense to have more rounds because you only have 1 fighter. You're only going to activate this 1 fighter. Then it's time to set up the initiative deck, which is what we saw earlier. That's this. You'll take the first place and last place initiative cards, and then you will add extra initiative cards based on how many players are taking part in the game. Does this mean that you can play with 2 players? I don't see any reason why you couldn't, as long as you fudge the rules wherever they introduce some problem. But by default, it is at least a 3-player game, so you'll add the second place card for 3 players, and then you are good to go. Add more cards if you need to play with 4, 5, or 6 players. Determine the first player, shuffle the initiative deck, and deal each player one initiative card face down. They'll keep its contents hidden from their opponents. The player who was dealt the first place card reveals it. That's the first player. They set up the battlefield. They take one game board from their collection or the game board included with Arena Mortis and place it either side face up in the center of the table. That's the battlefield. The second player is the player that was dealt the second place initiative card. And I imagine all of this is kept secret, so you don't know whose turn it's going to be. That's pretty interesting. I like that. As far as territories go, there is only one game board in Arena Mortis, and it counts as no one's territory, your territory, and enemy territory. That statement might not make any sense, but generally speaking, when you set up a game board, which, bam, wow, we've set it up, and now you're going to play against your opponent. Let's say your opponent's going to sit over here. You've set up the game board to be like this. Your armies are going to go in the starting spaces here. Your opponent's going to have armies in the starting spaces over there. This is your territory. This is your opponent's territory. And the hexes in the middle are no one's territory. If we orient the game board like this, then these hexes would be no one's territory. Or it would be neutral territory. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that's how that works. But for the purposes of Arena Mortis, all hexes count as all territory. So just for that to help you understand whenever there are specific territory rules on your cards. There's no power deck in games of Arena Mortis. If a rule refers to the power deck or power cards, treat that rule as referring to the gambit deck or gambit cards instead. And there's no objective deck, so if the rule refers to the objective deck or objective cards, that rule has no effect. So we would refer to these as the gambit deck. These are power cards though. It says there's no power deck, but this comes with 40 unique universal power cards for Warhammer Underworlds. So we're calling these power cards as long as they are being used to build decks for your other Warhammer Underworlds games and your other warbands. But as soon as you bring them into Arena Mortis, these are not power cards. There's not a power deck. There are 20 upgrade cards and there are 20 gambit cards. There is something called the rule of 1. If you give an upgrade to a fighter and it has the same name as an enemy fighter's upgrade, the enemy fighter's upgrade is discarded. Then the Mortis Curse. If a player takes, gains, or scores 1 or more glory points as directed by a rule on 1 or more upgrades, they then discard those upgrades. There's a little bit more to the setup than what I want to go over here. We have yet another section detailing what to do for the horrors. Gosh, that's so funny to me. We have new wound characteristic totals. The wounds characteristic trackers supplied with Arena Mortis are used to help players understand at a glance how badly injured fighters around the battlefield are. When your fighter's wounds characteristic changes, take a wounds characteristic tracker that matches the value of their new wounds characteristic and place it in front of their fighter cards at the bottom of the number points toward the board being played on. Okay, that's why they're pointed. In the example to the right, Hrothgorn Mantrapper is given the Great Fortitude upgrade. His player takes a wounds characteristic tracker with the number 7 and places it in front of Hrothgorn's fighter card facing the board. Alright, so this basically replaces your base amount here and lets you know. Rather, this is at a glance going to be easier for your opponent to read. And then of course decrease that or increase it if the situation calls for it. So you could have done this the whole time. You could have just had these. I guess it's fine to have the wound tokens as they are actually. You probably run out of these in a standard season game. If your fighter is out of action, raise that fighter. To raise a fighter, place them on the battlefield on an empty starting hex in your territory, then place 1 raise counter on that fighter's fighter card. Oh, that's one of the player activations. Let's go over those real quick. Reveal initiative card, raise fighter, upgrade fighter, first power step, take an activation, second power step. There's a lot of steps to a turn in this version of Underworlds. Take an activation is player activation number 5, and this is actually take an activation following the rules in the Warhammer Underworlds rulebook. Note that the player action of discarding and then drawing an objective card cannot be taken. Goodness, easy to get me overwhelmed, I think. And you have multiple reminders everywhere about the different game sequence, activation sequence. It tries really hard to keep things simple, and after you've done it a few times, I reckon it is very simple. But I would say that there's a little bit more strategy and crafting and building into your single fighter warband than in a typical game of Underworlds. However, that makes sense. You want that kind of complexity for your single fighter. You might have somebody who's like, yeah, I know how to beat your warband in a typical game, so I'm going to destroy that one fighter. But you could really catch them off guard. So we're going to go ahead and go over the gambit cards and the upgrade cards, and we have a risky prospect, at any cost, bitter memories. Or did they used to date? You had the audacity to kill me? How dare you? Oh, they did date. Cold fury, distracting wealth, divine reward, enhanced blow, fancy footwork, fractured memories, grand offering, Fractured memories. The constant cycle of painful deaths and instant rebirths can send even doughty fighters spiraling into insanity. In Arena Mortis, anybody can have the effects of the Stormcast Eternals. Invigorating return. Last gasp. Making ends meet. Outrageous fortune. Revel in death. Shattering howl. Soul surge. Strength from death. I love that picture. The old 1-2. Winded. It didn't hurt much. And now for our upgrades. Ambusher. Audacious feint. Deserved confidence. Desperate swing. Draining leech. Flashy follow-up. Frenzied assault. Gauntlet of command. I love that picture. What is that thing? That's awesome. Gauntlet of dominance. Grave siren. Head bash. Heart thief. Hungry for vengeance. Ignoble blow. Invigor mortis. Spiteful lunge. The crown of the dead. Tight defense. Vision of glory. Weirding staff. Restless dead. Nagash denies the gift of eternal rest to those who defied his will. All that combined with our sepulchre reward and upgrade, or replacement card, or whatever it is. I don't understand why it has to exist. Gives us the entirety of Warhammer Underworlds. Beastgrave, Arena Mortis. Say that 4 times, ever, or don't. I would just don't. This, actually, I thought was a must-have because of its expansion status, where it's not just a deck of... It's not just a Rivals deck, and it's not just a warband. And it was the right price for sure. The blister packaging is... it's a choice. I can't reuse it. I mean, I can put everything back in as long as I pop my tokens back in where they were, and I guess I could let them kind of flow around freely in there, but it's gonna be hard enough getting my cards here to kind of cooperate unless I do this number. I hate that. Once I pop everything out, there's not going to really be a reboxing. I'm gonna have to put all this stuff in the Beastgrave box once I get the Beastgrave box. I think that'll be a great idea, actually. Beastgrave eludes me because it's a little bit higher priced than the rest. People seem to like to hang on to that one, but I'll have my chance at it. I'm broke right now because I spent all of my hobby money on a Warhammer Quest Dark Water pre-order, so that's happening. And then I'll really be able to homebrew all of these lovely Underworlds war bands that I have. Mwah. Can you imagine if you open up Warhammer Quest and it has all these different cards that could absolutely be used as rival decks? Anyway, I'm blabbing on for too long, which is probably why a lot of you are here in the first place. But that's Beastgrave, Arena Mortis. Can I recommend it? If you're a completionist like me, yes. Will I ever play it? I don't think I'll ever have 3 players at the table, so I'll probably just have to homebrew a 1v1. Thank you for your kind attention. I would love if you would check out some other videos, or like these ones that are about to pop up on the screen as recommended for you. And I'll see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, brave heroes, bye for now.